Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are actually in my studio. If I'm a little hard to hear, it's because the walls are thin and I don't want people to hear me talking to myself for the next 30 minutes to an hour. So today's video is a bit different than my other ones. It's about what I do when I'm not on YouTube, which is I'm an artist. You may just know me from the girl that rants about society and men, but I'm an artist. I've been an artist for a really long time, and I wanted to talk about that experience because it is one of the things that people often ask me about as far as creativity, as far as how can I even afford a studio in the city, and how to overcome kind of feeling stuck, kind of creative block. So I'm gonna first start off with an intro of what I do, how long I've been doing it, school, etc., etc. Then we're gonna get into studio, financial, the logistics, and then into creativity, excuses, and then I'm probably gonna rant for a while. So if you haven't already, I would absolutely appreciate it if you guys could subscribe and like. If you guys want to keep up with more of what I do on a general basis, like on a day-to-day basis, follow my Instagram and my TikTok. TikTok, I just rant. I'll just pull up my camera and that's usually where I just speak into the void. And then Instagram is what I've had for the longest. I've had it since I was 18. So if you guys scroll back, you'll see me in all of my phases and all of the things that I've explored in this world. So yeah, let's jump right in. So I am an artist. I have been making art for a long time. I am going to be 27 this year. And I've been making art for as long as I could remember. I grew up in a very creative family, but as an immigrant family, we weren't necessarily allowed to pursue that as a career. It was sure, I'll get you coloring pencils and you can draw all day, but I expect you to have a regular, respectable career and all of that. So that was really a struggle growing up. So yeah, when I was little, I used to just draw. Yeah, I just used to Google art tutorials, how to draw a puppy, how to draw a baby. And I used to just do that. And then I did that, and then I went to high school, and then I went to a science high school actually. But I had an art teacher there that really kind of pushed me to keep drawing and stuff, and to kind of start to develop an art portfolio in case I did want to go to the art school. And art school would have never been accepted in my household. Plus, also I was a very depressed kid. So even if it was something that I was motivated to do, I was going through it so much that I didn't even do the general application for university. I couldn't even write the college application essay where you're required to talk about a major turning point in your life. It just felt weird, and looking back on it, I have no regrets, but it's just kind of this major expectation that we place on a teenager to be able to take the parts of their life and arrange it in a form that's sequential, linear, while you're literally in the midst of what you're writing about, and put it together to essentially sell yourself to a school. And I'm all about higher education, but at that time I definitely was not in a position to speak to that. Plus also it felt weird. I just hate, I never like being pick me because I'm so sad. Pick me because I struggled. You know what I mean? And I hate, I just didn't feel comfortable doing that. My brother got a full ride to school. He's older. He was able to kind of speak well to his situation. And I can speak well to my life now, but it's because I have more distance, you know what I mean, from what I've been through. In that moment, I was I literally cannot get this done. So that was very difficult for me to do, and for that reason, I just did the general CUNY application, the City University of New York. So the public colleges that are more affordable, and all that you needed was your grades, your transcript, your SAT score, and I was always a very good student. So I got in, I went to Hunter. Funny enough, I actually had a full ride to Hunter through my high school, but I lost that freshman year because I was really depressed. So I ended up having to pay out of pocket, but Hunter is not as expensive as a private school. And also Hunter is not an art school, it's a liberal arts college. So you could do bio there, you could do any kind of, what the fuck? So you could do any kind of major there. So even though I got an art degree, I got a BFA, and with a concentration in painting, so a bachelor's of fine arts, I had to do a bunch of other classes. I had to do science classes and math classes. I had to learn a language. But in that sense, I kind of enjoyed it. A lot of people often ask about, should you go to an art school? And I don't think so. I don't think you necessarily need to go to an art school. If you can obviously afford it, go. If you can get a scholarship, go. If you are low income or even low middle class, you don't really know what you want to do with your life, but you know you love art, I would not go into debt for an art degree. I literally wouldn't. Maybe for a graduate degree later on if you want to be a professor, like in the arts. But for undergrad, I am not a believer. I believe in higher education, but I'm not a believer that you should be going into debt for that kind of stuff, because I think it's sold to you that you're gonna have like all these major connections when you go to art school, and like that is where you would potentially get connections. But also ultimately, if you're already in a major city or if you use the internet, you can meet a lot of these people independent of paying a massive tuition every single like year. And also, the Hunter studios were nicer than some of the private schools in New York City studios, if I do say so myself. They were a lot bigger and we had like better supplies. Obviously not better than some that are outside of the city, but I feel like the city is so small and Hunter is like an old institution. So I was like, bro, I got more space than you. I would go to the open studios for the other schools and I was like, Hunter studios are nicer. And I'm only paying what, like $3,000 a semester? So it wasn't that bad. But I did enjoy having an art school degree, or I did enjoy having a school experience. It taught me how to critique, how to think about my work critically, how to make work in a studio setting. It is extremely intense. If you are somebody that is not sure about what you're doing, you have to be careful in those kind of settings, because everybody will tell you different things, and what you'll realize towards the end is that everything is subjective. Like and I hate to be the person who's like, nothing means anything, but like legitimately one faculty member will tell you one thing and the other faculty member will tell you the complete opposite, and then everybody will have an attitude with you over you standing up for yourself. Maybe that was my experience, but I just feel like sometimes people like just talk so confidently about something that really is kind of non-consequential. So it taught me how to kind of read through people's critiques and just take what I need and leave the rest. And that's kind of like the whole point of it. But if you are kind of unsure, if you are kind of insecure, which is totally normal and natural when you're starting off your art education, you have to be very wary of not letting a bad critique or not letting something, or not taking in a piece of information that you didn't know about before and having that completely make your whole future fall apart, or your whole like love for and passion for what you do fall apart. So I do say, go to art school if you want to, or go to a regular school and go into their art program and enjoy it and communicate with other professors and artists in that field. But like $50,000 a year for that, I'm like, I don't really think that's like ideal, because then you're leaving with what, like $60K in debt to be an artist. Like, it's absolutely pointless. It really is. So let's carry on. And like, it's not even that the debt, because you're going to have debt in life regardless. It's the type of loans you're taking out. So at Hunter, I just took out federal loans. So they have a very small like percentage, like interest rate. If you're going to a major private school and you're not getting any financial aid or you're not getting scholarships, you're going to have to be paying like, you're gonna have to get like major private loans, and those have higher interest rates, and like you may not know that at that age, and you're like kind of like, all right, cool, I can get a loan, I can pay this back later. You won't be able to. You really won't. I'm so sorry. Oh, and that's kind of like, and that's kind of that on that. So as far as going to art school, all that art school does, honestly, is just teach you about other artists, teaches you history, puts you in relation to other artists, shows you how to work in a space, how to set up a space, how to stretch canvas, how to think about your work, how to talk about your work, how to write about your work. And these are kind of things that you can learn outside of the field. You can also learn in residencies. So you can always like Google art residencies and join them. A lot of them are free. A lot of them are free in exchange for giving them a piece of your artwork or doing labor. Like some of them are like on farms and stuff. So if you like clean and whatever, you can go there for free. And that'll put you in relation to so many other artists and so many other people in the art world. And I feel like that's a lot more fruitful than going to art school if you can't afford it, or if you're not mentally made for an academic sort of environment, because I feel like I've watched so many incredible people really fall apart in those environments. And I also, if you're a person of color specifically, so the thing about critiques and stuff, for example, you stand in the middle, oh my god, I meant to make this video about like the studios, but whatever. The thing about critiques, if you're anyone from a marginalized community, a lot of the faculty, and that's not to say that there's faculty that even because they don't look like you or where you're from won't understand, because I've definitely had professors that totally understand. But in a lot of cases, especially the more expensive the school, the higher the class of a lot of the people there, the less they can relate to your work, and the more they kind of tend to characterize you as kind of like a not smart artist. And by that I mean it's like, oh, you're just talking about where you're from. Like, make something more interesting, make something more conceptual. I don't even know how to like break that down if you don't know what I mean, because it's a very specific thing. And if you're like not in the art world at all, if you're not haven't been in any of these spaces, it kind of sounds like absurd because it is. So it just feels like there's like this push to make smart work, to not make just narrative. Don't just talk about what you've been through. Like kind of relate to art history, and to kind of make complex work that helps move art history forward. They kind of tend to see like crafts or anything that relates to you too specifically, or your identity. Not everyone, but certain faculty members and certain professors, even certain students, will kind of make it seem like you're not good enough or you're not smart enough because you want to talk about where you're from. And even if they don't say it like that, I've had so many friends and so many people that have gone to these schools, these more expensive schools, talk about how in critiques, no one talks about their work. Like, it's like people are afraid to speak up. Like if you're, for example, Black and like disabled and queer, and you made something really strong about that, really maybe a big graphic, they might just kind of tiptoe. Everyone's afraid of not saying the wrong thing, or everybody just jumps to weird conclusions, or you don't really get the kind of conversation around your work that can actually help you improve your work and like make it, you know, take it to the next level, because either people are afraid to talk about it, or they don't think it's good work because it's something that's like a bit more personal. So that's that on that. Like, that's something to think about. Since I went to a public college that's like more affordable, like a lot of my classmates in the art department went to like the new school, went to Parsons, and were just like, one, I couldn't afford it. Two, the critiques were horrible. Like, because it's literally people just standing around like, I like the colors, and it's like, bro, get into it. Or you're having to spend half your critique kind of bridging the cultural gap, being like, okay, so where I'm from, this is that. This is what this means. This is, and like you waste most of your critique explaining to get everybody on the same page so then you can all move forward. So that's something to think about, and why I think it's important to kind of like develop your own community and not necessarily rely on these spaces to push you forward. And even if you are in these spaces, a lot of people just find like the peers that get them and then just do what they do with them. Like, you know, we just had a critiquing class, girl, come over to my studio and let's talk about what really happened and what you think, because we get along. So there's that. But it's just like, yeah, you're paying like $50,000 to have a bunch of like people that don't even value you, like question your artistry. So that's something to think about. So yeah, find your people, find your community, go to art shows, meet people, don't be afraid to reach out. I'm saying all these things, but I hate being outside, so I don't even follow them. But don't be afraid to post your stuff. Don't be like, I don't know. A lot of people are afraid to put themselves out there, and it's just kind of like the way in which I got over the fear of posting my artwork on social media is that rather than treating it as like a portfolio, I treated it as a diary. So I would often use, especially when I was in school, I would often use like my own timeline, like my own Instagram page as like a diary. Like I could see chronologically, like, oh man, like 6 months ago I couldn't even draw that, now I can draw this. Like, so don't think about it as like it needs to be this space for a finished product. Think about it as just your diary, because at the end of the day, like, people just want to see your day-to-day. Like, you just want to see your day-to-day. You don't really need to see a finalized piece. If that was really the goal, like, I would go on a museum's, like, online archive. You know what I mean? I would go on Artsy and look at galleries, the finished work that they post. I love seeing people's day-to-day. I love seeing them try new things. I love seeing their techniques, like, improve. So don't overthink it and need to feel like, oh man, it needs to be this finished work for people to respect me. Just post it. Don't overthink it. So I finished school. While I was in school, I will say I did appreciate having a lot of different types of classes. So I think it really helped broaden my work, especially taking a lot of history classes in relation to my culture, in relation to Dominican history, Haitian history, like the history of the Caribbean. That was a lot. That was really cool. And I basically powered through school by changing my mentality and realizing I can use anything for my work. And realizing that a major part of being an artist and the privilege of being an artist is that we can pull from anything. So if you are, what are some jobs? If you're a barista, because that's the only other job I've ever had, if you're a barista, all the information you need to pull from is from coffee. It's from coffee, maybe something in relation to farming, and like maybe stuff in relation to finance, business, whatever. When you're an artist, you can pull from like space travel to Asian makeup trends to anything in the history of time and like connect it together and make it a piece. We are gifted with the privilege of being able to connect the things that we normally wouldn't see as related. And that's where things like maybe being neurodivergent works to your favor, because it's like our way of thinking is not necessarily linear. We're creating strange associations, unorthodox associations on a day-to-day basis, and that's what our work represents. So I actually really enjoyed not going to a school that was solely about art. It was difficult to graduate because I was like, why am I in a geology class right now? But also, like, it was amazing. I got to just think about every single class. I would listen, like, maybe there's something here I can use for my work. Maybe there's something here I could use for this, like, theory I've been working on that I've been trying to figure out how to visually represent. So really just take in everything. Don't see it as a chore. Because the thing about being an artist is, bro, I hate to break it to you, you are a lifelong learner. If you hate that now, if you hate that like self-education or academic education and feeling like, oh man, not good enough, I can't wait till I'm an artist. Newsflash, and like this is a lifelong thing. And you kind of have to enjoy and be genuinely curious. I feel like I write now more than I wrote back then, because I used to write a lot when I was in school. I write like lately, especially making these YouTube videos and like really trying to put my thoughts together in relation to new work I'm making. I write so much now. I also do a lot of math in my studio. I use a compass now. The other day I started using a compass. Hello? So you never know what you're gonna use. So really enjoy the process of learning. So I finished school in 2017. I graduated by the grace of God. I'm not even religious, but the older I get, I'm just like, yo, there has to be someone out there looking for me, because I'm like, ooh. I'm so lucky. So I made it through school. And my only goal when I was in school was to graduate and get a studio, because I had a studio while I was in school. It was communal, but I was like, all right, I'm working, I'm painting. I need to leave school and be able to keep working, because so many people get this art degree and never make art again. And that's perfectly fine. Some people just definitely, they fall in love with other stuff. They have other responsibilities. They realize, hey, I went through those 4 years and I realized it's not for me. Don't like it, actually hate it. I would rather be something else. That's perfectly fine. But also a lot of people, unfortunately, because of how expensive where you are maybe, because of life happening, never get the opportunity, or the opportunity to get what you want is super delayed. So for that reason, I was like, I don't even want to give myself an excuse. I don't want to graduate and then just start going to work and then just kind of like, get into that rut of going to work, falling asleep, going to work, falling asleep. So I was like, as soon as I graduated, I'm getting a studio. And I did that. So at the time I was living with my parents, and I was working at coffee shops the entire time I was in school. So I basically used my money and put it straight into an art studio. And the first studio I got was absolutely horrible. I found it on Craigslist. There was this upstairs room that a lady had. She didn't even put heating in it. I wasted so much money because I didn't even get any work done, and then I left. So that was an experience. I maybe shouldn't have rushed it. I can be kind of like 0 to 100. I'm just like, it has to be now or never. So I was like, I'm graduating today and I have a studio tomorrow. I could have waited like 3 months, you know what I mean? But whatever. So then I got another studio, and this one was like massive, and it was like expensive. It was like $1,500, but for the size, it was like huge. Like, it was way bigger than the space I'm in now, and I only paid like $100 less here. And I had that for 2 years. So every month, my only concern was making $1,500. And I was working at a coffee shop full time at that point. So I was like, whatever, like, all I gotta do is like go to work, go to my studio, go home and chill. And during that time, I really started doing my thing on Instagram. I always had one and I always had a following, but that's when I started getting more modeling work and more promotional work. So then I started making a lot of money on there in relation to what I was making at the coffee shop. So then I quit my job. I was like, somehow every month I make the money. Like, let's just do this. And I talk about like the finances in relation to that in my finances video more thoroughly. If you guys want to watch that video and get more info on that, please head over there. And also I'll get into credit card debt because I definitely was living over my means and didn't realize it, but you know what, whatever. You live and you learn. But basically, I quit my job and I started freelancing, and I just started putting more time into my Instagram, like social media, influencer work. Also, I feel like a lot of people have such a negative connotation of influencer, and like people that aren't influencers have a negative opinion of influencers. That's fine. People that are influencers, why do you hate yourself? Why do you gotta be like, yeah, I'm an influencer? Bro, we get to like, it sucks in many ways, you know what I mean? It's freelance work, we don't have any benefits, we don't have a retirement fund, we don't have health insurance, but we also pay a crap ton in taxes. But like, you get to wake up and do whatever you want, and you get to like share your life, and like, I don't know, I think it's just like, I think sometimes people just feel, I'm talking to myself right now, it's me, I'm the people that hates myself, but like it's a blessing, and I think it's something that I've had to contend with for so long, especially in relation to artistry, and I think it polarizes certain people in the art world. Like, I've had galleries literally be like, whatever it is you're doing on social media, you need to stop that because galleries don't like it. Just as far as how, I don't know, brand work, it just doesn't look like I'm a serious artist, but it's like I'm seriously painting, so that's more of a you problem and how you perceive me, and less of a me problem. So that's been something I've been having to fight for so long, and why I feel like my art career, outside of how depressed I get and how I stopped making work for like 2 years because I didn't have a studio during the pandemic because I was financially like done. I think also in general, a lot of galleries don't really take me seriously, and that is really unfortunate, and they always connect me to my following, and that freaking sucks. But so yeah, I got my other studio, and I had to leave it during the pandemic, and then I didn't have a studio for like a year and a half, and then I just got this studio in December, and here we are today. Blessed. It's definitely a lot financially. I pay rent at home and I pay rent here, and I have a lot of expenses, but I am very fortunate to be able to do social media work and still be able to like balance both. So in general, being a working artist is difficult. The majority, and by majority I mean like 90% of artists are not earning artists. Like, a huge percentage of artists do not sustain themselves solely off of their artwork. So people often use that as a reason to not be an artist, but you have to just like brace yourself with that information and then do whatever you can to make sure that you are in a financial position where you have time and space to create work. Whether you're in a studio or whether you are in your own apartment, in the corner of your room, whatever the case may be, you are still creating work independent of what else is going on. And whatever else that you're doing outside of the artwork that you're making helps facilitate this stuff. That's why I'll never feel bad about having other streams of revenue, because it allows me to come in here whenever I want and take my time rather than like producing, selling to like make ends meet. I think the moment that I'm reliant financially on my artwork, it will hurt my artwork because I'm not naturally business minded. I think there's artists that love money, and that's a great thing. You can love money. There's artists that love making money, that love the hustle, that love the grind, that can wake up every day, paint, and love to see the money come in. I absolutely hate selling my work, and it's not from this perspective, because there's artists that also can't let go of their work. It's not even that, it's just that what I'm working on, I feel like right now I just started a whole new body of work. I'm working with shapes that I normally never work with. I'm trying to go more abstract, and if I had a gallery show, I'd have to start finalizing these and get these out of my studio, and I wouldn't be able to understand what it is that I'm working on now and how it can grow in the future, because you're taking out key parts of my work. Like you're taking out, a lot of the work that I make is in conversation with another. So when I make one piece, I'm like, I like that moment, I'm going to take that moment and expand on it in the next one. And then the next one, I'm like, I like this moment, and then I'm going to take that moment and expand on it in the next one. And then from the next one, the next one. And I think that's a big part of my process, that when I was in school, I was able to really take my time and really just look at my work, and then make the work, look at it, talk about it with the class, have it sit in your studio for the rest of the semester, and you're looking at it while making new work. And I feel like that process was so beneficial for me as far as helping me progress really fast, and speed doesn't matter, but fast to a point where I was getting more fluent in expressing myself, fluent in taking whatever it is that is in here and expressing it. And I feel like in the hustle and bustle of showing and selling and putting myself out there, and then graduating and having interviews and having to talk about my work and put it together in this way that was super understandable to a general audience, but also marketable, that really shot me in the foot. And I feel like right now I'm I can't even feel bad about having other streams of revenue, even if it harms my perception as far as a fine artist, because I don't care. Because when I think of, you have there's so many different reasons as to why one can make art, right? You could do it to inspire, you could do it to express yourself, you could do it to sell. There's so much money to be made, right? You could do it for whatever reason you want to do it. A major part of the reason why I make work is because I want to create a visual language for my experience. And part of creating a language involves time, involves motifs, things that I'm expanding on. It involves trial and error. And I long ago made peace with the fact that my time is nowhere near now, and I hope to God is nowhere near now, because I don't necessarily believe in peaks, but I don't believe I will be making my best work anytime soon. And I feel like that to me is proven every day, even when I watch people that are only a few years older than me, and we started showing at around the same time when I was 20, and where they are now, in their 30s, it's so inspiring, because I'm I could have never imagined that you could bring your work to that point. And I hunger for that experience. So I think there's this pressure, especially when you're younger, to be the youngest person to show at this museum, the youngest this, the youngest that, and the first solo show, the first this, the first museum show. And it's these are major accomplishments, but they really don't mean anything in terms of quality of your work, and in terms of communicating what it is that you're trying to communicate. And I feel like these accolades can get in the way of your purpose on this earth, your gift. And when you even look at a lot of the grades, our history is very skewed, it's very Eurocentric. But even when you look at these people, these pillars of the Eurocentric art world, when we look at their work in art history, we're looking at their work from when they're like 50. Unless they died young, like when you think about like Basquiat, he died at 27. Unless they died young, like you're looking at their work from when they're older. So this idea that me at soon to be 27, like I'm like, my best work is behind me, or like I need to make it now, I need to figure out my work now. Like, of course you never know what's gonna happen, and you need to live every day. Like, actually no, I don't believe in living every day like it's your last, that it's unnecessarily stressful. But you should live with intention and with purpose, of course. But like there's plenty of time. And you should be patient with yourself, and you don't have to hit these markers. And yeah, it's a marathon. Like, you are getting better at whatever it is you're trying to do every single day. And the goal is to work till I die. And that sounds like a capitalistic fever dream, but I mean to create. I think a lot of people in the conversations in relation to self-care and demolish capitalism, I feel you on that. Fuck work. They don't mean the work that feeds the soul. That's not the work that you don't need to do. The work that you need to do is this work. Whatever the work that you do that feeds you is, do that. And whether you don't necessarily have a passion or not, whatever that means, if the thing that keeps you on this earth and that brings you the most joy is your children, for example, then the work that you do, like whatever job you have, that's what fulfills you, because then when you provide, that's like what feeds your soul. So for that reason, it's not about like getting to a point where you will never have to do anything again and you could just sit around. It's because that will seriously make you more depressed than when you were working, I promise you. It's about finding the type of work, and it's not really in relation to making money, but the type of work that provides value to this world. Whether it is like you love to dance, whether it is you love to write, whether it is you love to just talk to people and you want to create like groups where you just meet up with people and you guys just talk about life. Like whatever it is that feeds your soul and helps you kind of like integrate yourself into the community and provide value and purpose to the world around you, that's what you need to like make sure you can always do. And that's the whole point of what I do. And that's why I want to work for the rest of my life on this, because this is what adds value to my life. And this is what I was put on this earth to do, for lack of better words. And it sounds cliche, but it's just like, yeah, this is my duty to this world. This is my offering to this world. This is my offering to the world. Like, it's great. And I have a lot of like beef with art. I have this love-hate relationship with painting, right? It like kills me a lot of the time. I feel like it's this thing that when I'm at odds with it, is the worst thing ever. A lot of time I wish I never had to paint, because it takes so much out of me. But also at the same time, it's a thing that, and that's like painting it, like not necessarily painting only, but creating. Like this is the thing. This is what it is about. And just because you have something you love doesn't mean that you're going to love it 100% of the time. Absolutely not. It's like you're still going to struggle, but the struggle is worth it. So that's that on that part of that. So in relation to inspiration, I always talk about inspiration. So a lot of people have this idea, right, that inspiration is like this beam of light that comes to you in the middle of the night and you're like, wow, finally, this is the idea. This is what I need to do. This is it. I am now moved. I am now motivated to work. That is absolutely not true. That is not how inspiration or motivation works. And what will happen if that happens to you? Because a great idea like that, like a beam of light coming down to you, you're lucky if it happens once in your life. When and if that ever comes to you, if that's what you've been waiting for and it finally comes, you will not be ready to fulfill whatever it is that you have been instructed to do, because you don't have the skill. And that's the reality of it. If you're counting on that moment to fulfill whatever it is that just came to you, the inspiration that finally came, you will not be able to do it because you have been slacking on the day-to-day. So it happens that every time I take a long break from painting, it's quite a while till I get to a point where I'm like, okay, the faces are faces. Before then, I'm like, damn, that nose looks really wonky. Ooh, it's a few rough days and or weeks in the studio. So for that reason, if you are never practicing, if you're never working, if you're constantly waiting to start, one day I'm gonna do it, one day I'm gonna do it, one day I'm gonna do it, you are failing yourself. And that sounds like a lot of really intense pressure and language. But waiting for inspiration will ruin you. Inspiration is a myth. It does not come in that way. Inspiration is a muscle. You have to show up every single day and try something. And through that trying, something may come about, but like, you will never know. And you also have to parse through the really bad ideas, because even though it comes to you here, when putting it out into whatever medium is your medium, whether it's painting, whether it's a song, whether it's dance, whether it's whatever, you may actually realize, oh wait, this doesn't translate well. This would actually be a better idea for something else. So then you never get anything done. So sometimes you just need to push through the bad work. I feel like all the drawing and painting that I did at home when I was in school, I made really ugly art. I made such bad art, and it's kind of like important. I made art that looks like other people's art. Right now, as I'm making this new body of work, I'm literally referencing Hilma af Klint because I saw her show at the Guggenheim years ago, and to this day, I cannot stop thinking about her work. And now that I'm allowing myself to make new kinds of work, more abstract, I'm like, yep, literally, I'm Hilma af Klint too. Like, that's me right now. And it's kind of annoying, but like, it's a part of becoming proficient in expressing yourself is you're kind of all your references are kind of showing, because you're kind of like, I really like that. And before you know it, you're making that. You kind of need to cycle through all of that. You need to cycle through ooh, that line looked really bad. Maybe by the 5th painting I make, I'll be able to execute that better. Maybe in a year, the work might not look like hers and it might look like me. So I say all that to say is you need to give yourself time, and you need to exercise every day, essentially. Like, whether it is you're writing and you're just writing, all right, today I'm doing 300 words, let's just keep it like that. And then you're writing really corny, stupid things. And then maybe by 6 months in, you're like, okay, like I'm really like doing it. Like, I feel like my voice is stronger. I feel like I'm just more motivated. I feel like when I get up to go write, I'm actually less tired now. Now I actually look forward to it. Now I actually, throughout the day, can actually reflect on all the things I've been writing. Oh, here's a solution for how I can actually do that thing I've been trying to do. And yeah, you just kind of have to give yourself time, and waiting for something to happen doesn't make it happen, and you're only gonna feel further and further away. Now, the other part of that is if you've been waiting a long time to get started, and now it feels like it's too late. It's never too late. That sounds also cliche, but it's really true. Nothing changes unless you change it. So this whole idea of it's too late, so much time has passed, it's too late, so much time has passed. Really look around at like a lot of different artists. I love to read biographies, and I love to watch interviews of like musicians too, because everybody has such different paths. And of course, so many people have their own privileges, their own once-in-a-million opportunities that got them to like wherever they're at now, that you feel like, wow, that could never be me. But also like, you don't know what your path is. You don't know what's going to happen in your life, and you don't know if you're going to wake up one day at 42 years old and start dancing, and now you're an incredible dancer, and you open up this like nonprofit like gym in your community, and you help like change a generation in your immediate environment, and like you die and you're like, bro, like you just did something incredible, and you started it at 40. Like, you don't know like what's around the corner. I think a lot of people live their life as if it already ended. And that can be something that happens with age. You know, life really hits you hard. You look around and you're like, wow, how did I end up at this point? And that is also really unfortunate, and that's something we should fight against. But I see so many young people even living like that too, people my age, and it's just kind of like, well, you know, I was gonna go back to school and I was gonna do this, but now I'm just working. And it's like, bro, like, it's easier said than done and a privileged take, but it's like, just like, bro, you could, for all you know, you could be on this earth for 60 more years years? You want to spend the next 60 years like, well, I was gonna, like, you still could. You really still could. And for that reason, sometimes we need perspective. I think that's where mentors are really important. I don't have a mentor. I definitely should. And I feel like my mentors are like the things I read and the interviews I watch, kind of like in a passive sort of way. But I get so much inspiration from older people that are just kind of like, yep, when I was your age, I hadn't even thought of what I wanted to do. And now look at me now. And it's just kind of like, yeah, like it could really, your life could change. You can change your life whenever you want, in a sense, you know? Really allow yourself time to figure out what it is you're gonna do and practice, trying something new every day. Don't fear getting older and feeling like your moment's like fleeting away, I'll never make it, because I think the older you get, the better you are at what you do. And that's one of the gifts of aging. It's you don't lose opportunity necessarily, obviously depending on what industry you're in, but even in a lot of industries, they're changing. Like there's a lot of way older models. There's a lot of musicians that are older. Like I was watching Lizzo's Big Girls. Oh my God, incredible reality TV show, by the way. So good. It's on Prime. Lizzo's like 34, bro. She's incredible. I was watching this other interview with her and she was saying like an estimate of like if an album, let's say, is like 12 songs, she'll make like 170. And I was like, that's what I want to do. Like I want to have the time and the dedication to stop making and showing, and not showing on social media, but being like, all right, gotta get it in an art show, I gotta sell it. Like, I wanna be able to be like, for this moment, I made so many of these, and the ones that I loved are these. And like, actually allow myself to go through trial and error, because I put so much pressure on myself to have a very put together finished product that I missed so many ideas, that I missed so many opportunities to find something new, to find a new path for myself, because I already boxed myself into a specific idea that I know will work, but I put all my resources into that, and I only have one when I could have had 20, and then from that 20, maybe only 2, but along the way, I got so many more tools for my other ones to be even like further ahead. So with all that being said, I think you should really spend time writing, and if you don't like writing, even just speaking, maybe recording yourself on voice notes, and really reflecting on what it is that your purpose is. So for me, I've had to really reinstate that for myself in regards to like certain things in my art career changing. I haven't shown in so long for a multitude of reasons. I don't even want to get into it because a lot of it is objection hearsay. It's definitely just hearsay. But for that reason, I'm like, bro, it doesn't even matter, because my only purpose and my only goal was to make something that speaks truth to my existence, and to the existence of so many people like me. And I'm not interested in achieving any major success at this point, because I'm not ready. And I think that is a blessing that I'm not ready. I don't want to be ready yet. I want time. I want to keep growing. I want to see where I could go. The more eyes you got on you, the more money you make, unfortunately, the more pressure there is. And knowing me, I will feel boxed in. So when that comes, I want to be ready and I want to be open. And in the meantime, I'm working for whatever is meant to be comes. I can fully accept it, and I am fully receptive of it, and I can actually transform my life, even though I transform it on a daily basis. Also, side note, for my painters out there, for my visual artists, I guess this can apply to any medium, finish the piece. You don't need 10 months to make one piece. Unless you're making like hyper realistic, like Renaissance level, like wall size paintings with like 20 people, bro, just finish it. Get it out the done. Stop being so precious. What's the thing in the term, what's the thing from writing? Kill your babies. Kill your babies. That just basically means if you like something, you can tell when someone's being precious. So as someone that did a lot of critiques, talked a lot about people's work in art school, you can tell when someone's hesitating, number one. You can tell when someone's being really careful with their work. You can tell when someone's really nervous by the certain decisions they're making visually. You can tell when someone's being too precious by the way in which they paint around the thing that they like. So let's say you spent freaking 3 days on this face. Oh, I love this face. This is such a good face. But now, compositionally, it does not make sense. I actually need to cut across it and maybe put something over it. But I love this face so much. I work so hard to kill it. Put whatever it is you need to put over it, because the goal is not this little thing that you spend time on. That's not what the painting is about. The important part is the whole thing, is the surface. And what distinguishes an amazing painter from an amateur one, an amateur doesn't matter, be an amateur, enjoy that. But what distinguishes incredible work from bad work is you could tell when someone isn't thinking about the purpose, about the surface as a whole, about the whole thing. You could tell they're only interested in being precious about the little hard work that they put into little tiny paint over. It does not matter. It really doesn't. Your duty in this world is not to serve that little beautiful hand you painted. It's to serve the painting as a whole and to present that work. Let go of the little beautiful things you paint. Focus on the bigger work. And for that reason, push work out faster. Some different exercises you could do in relation to that is making something in as few moves as possible. So if you're an oil painter, for example, maybe doing some wet on wet kind of painting. So that means while the whole surface is still wet, pushing paint around and if you push paint around for long enough, it starts to all muddy up. The colors start to mix up. So for that reason, you want to be very precise and intentional with your mark making and make whatever it is that you need to make in as few moves as possible. So if, all right, I'm trying to do a still life of this pencil sharpener. How quickly, how can I get the essence of it? How essential can I be with what I'm making, essentially? And that will teach you a lot, and that will make you be more direct, more forward, more even conservative in a sense, in a good way. Like, it'll make you hold back a little and allow other things to come forward. And I think that can be a very good lesson for a lot of young artists. Don't talk so much about your work. If you're showing someone your work, you don't need to explain it. Allow them to speak about it. If you need to stand next to your painting and speak for it, some people may disagree, it's not a good painting. And it's not to say that everything in your painting needs to be exactly like, oh yeah, it's about this, and then this happened, and this happened. Like, it doesn't need to make sense in that way. But ask yourself, why is it even a painting to begin with? If you feel like that whatever it is you painted about needs a fucking 20-page paper next to it, maybe it needed to be a book. Maybe it needed to be a speech. Maybe it needed to be a conversation. Maybe it did not need to be a painting. Why is it visual? Like, what is it that is unique about painting that is why this is a painting? What is it about maybe the size? Everything in the painting matters. From the size of it, the material, how you hung it up on the wall, everything means something. So if it's a figure, a small figure in a small painting means I'm looking into something. It's a more intimate experience. My body is overwhelming this. What does that mean? Or versus whether it's a massive canvas with a massive figure, and I'm here like, whoa, this figure is so big. What does that mean? These are two completely different, unique experiences that could be felt independent of what you're talking about. So in that sense, you can start to think about like visual metaphors, how you can communicate through visual, through feeling, through how fast you paint in certain parts and how slow you paint in others, how heavy something is and how light something is, how large something is and how small something is. And you can kind of use all these different things to communicate. I think a lot of people just think, oh yeah, I'm gonna paint a face, paint the face, paint the face, paint the face, painted the face. Now you have all this background. What's the background? Oh, I'll just fill it in purple. It's like you did not consider the sanctity, the importance of the full painting. Don't just add in filler. You know how there's like songs, think about an album, think about things that you kind of we're all so versed in music because like we all listen to it all the time. You know when you're listening to an album and you're like, this song is absolutely crap. Or when you're watching a series, fire ass series, 10 episodes, Episode 6, filler episode. Literally could have taken it out. Nothing, like, it wouldn't have changed the story whatsoever. That's how some of y'all paint certain parts of your painting. It's like nothing happened here. And it's not to say that something needs to happen in every part of your painting, that it needs to be fully full. But there's a loss in intention. You're kind of like what's the point? And also, within all that I'm saying, there's so many different approaches to painting. You could just paint because you're happy. You could just do it as a hobby. You could just do it because it's you. You could just do it because it's stress relief. Everything I'm saying is only like one way of relating to your work. That maybe is a bit more academic because of the ways in which I was taught to make work and to think about work and to, and to challenge my own work. But for that reason, you can kind of do what you want, but whatever it is that you're doing, why are you doing it like that? You know what I mean? And what are your goals with it? So I challenge you all to challenge yourself, to think critically, and to do whatever it is you need to do, and do it all the way with intention. I think in this life, there will never be a time when you're not busy. The older you get, the more complicated things get. The more you may end up with a kid, or you may end up in debt, or you may end up with even a job that you hated more than the last job. You may end up in whatever situation you're in. There will never be a time in your life where you're like, okay, from when I was 33 to 48, that's actually when my life totally cleared up and I had no stress and I was actually able to make that album I wanted to make. That's never going to happen. It literally never is. So you need to become better versed now at making time for what it is that you wanted to do all along. And as time goes, it becomes more like second nature. Initially, when you start out, it's going to feel like torture. It's going to feel like hell. It's going to be like, why do I even do this? And as you do it more, it still is obviously difficult and you're still having to make sacrifices to get things done. But it'll be like second nature. It's like when people add kids to the loop. It definitely made your life harder. And at the first few years, you definitely hated your life and you probably cried the entire time and you had no money and you fought with everyone and you lost who you were. But you get the hang of it eventually. I hope. I don't have kids. I hope. Eventually, there's a routine, a day-to-day, and everything that needed to get done somehow by the time they're older got done. Somehow they became a fully functional human being. And you're just kind of did that. And I think that's kind of what making art is. It's you're here having to maybe certain aspects of your life may suffer a little bit. But as long as you're in communication with other people, maybe I won't be able to socialize as much. Maybe it means that my finances will be a little bit more tighter. So let me communicate to someone, to my friends that maybe I can't go out as much. But eventually you find that balance and you can kind of make the time for it. If it's it never gets done unless you do it. There's never gonna be a moment of inspiration when you're like, wow, this is it. This is the piece. This is the song. This is the hook. No, you need to go find it. You need to, for whenever inspiration comes to you, you're ready. You're already here I've been writing for the last 4 years. Perfect. So yeah, I wish you all luck on your endeavors. This is definitely going to be something that I talk about more with time. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. What else you guys want me to get into in the following weeks. Doesn't have to be art related. It can be society related. Some of y'all asked me about the Amber Heard Johnny Depp situation. I will not be talking about that respectfully. Nope. Not even gonna touch it. Nope. You're not gonna get me to talk about it. Somebody else asked me to talk about the Kendrick Lamar album. Do I look like a fucking music review page? Nope. Maybe I'm just I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Okay, bye. Love you guys.